This is Tapu Koko, this is Tapu Fini, this is Tapu Bulu, and this is Tapu Lele. 4 Pokémons of 4 different typing that should never be in the same deck. But what if they were? Today I set on a mission to try to win a game using all of the Tapu Pokémons in one singular deck. Will I be able to pull this off? Well, there's only one way to find out. But before we do that, we actually need to set some rules. Rule number 1, I must only use Tapu Pokémons in my deck. I am not allowed to use any other Pokemon, and all of the leftover cards in the deck must be trainers or items. Rule number 2, I must win by 3 points KO, so concedes don't count. Rule number 3, I must play against a random player, so I cannot just invite a friend and play against him. And rule number 4, at one point in the game I must have all of the Tapu Pokémons either on my active spot or on the bench. These are the rules, this is the deck I'm actually going to use, and let's see if we can actually complete this challenge. Also, disclaimer, this video is heavily inspired by Robo Pokemon. He's not the only one that does this type of challenges, but he's the one that I've actually been following along. So if you want to see more challenges like this, make sure to check out his channel. So let's start with the first attempt. Now, as you will see, this attempt was actually a pretty good one. Sadly, I was not able to get the win in this round. However, you'll see exactly why I lost this game. Anyway, we flipped heads, which means we are going first, and we got a Tapu Koko to open the game. Now, as we can see, our enemy is running a fire deck, which means he might be running a meta deck. However, he pulls out a Chimchar, which means that he's running an Infernape deck, which is not the best, but it's really bad against our attempt. Anyway, we used Professor's Research and we got a Giant Cape and also Misty, which is going to be really helpful once we get Tapu Fini, but we have to get it first. We used our Giant Cape on Tapu Koko and we ended our turn. As you can see, the next energy is Grass, which is not good because our Pokemon, our Tapu Koko, requires electric energy. Anyway, he took his time again to really calculate what he's going to do, I guess, until he put an energy on Chimchar and uses a red to deal 40 damage. On my next card, we get a Pokeball, which we immediately use to get a new Pokemon, and that is Tapu Fini, which is really cool because we have a Misty, but we are not going to use it yet. We are actually going to use the Professor's Research to get 2 more extra cards, and hopefully we get something good, but we only got Tapu Lele and Erika. Again, our energy is Grass type, and the one coming after this one is also Grass, so we are not going to be able to attack with Tapu Koko. Again, my enemy is really taking his time calculating his turns, which means he's actually concerned about this game. Hopefully, he won't concede. Anyway, he put a Heatran and immediately attached some fire energy, and then he dealt 20 damage with Chimchar. Well, it is not the best, but we pulled a Cyrus, and our next energy coming after this one is Electric, which is really cool. We used our Misty on Tapu Fini and we got 2 heads, which is crazy, because that means that we can actually attack with Tapu Fini right this turn. So we just put the Grass energy on Tapu Fini, we retreat using an X speed, so we don't, use our energy for no reason. We get to Tapu Fini, and then immediately after this thing, we just attack his Chimchar, getting it out, of course, because we deal extra damage because it's a fire type, and the fire type is weak against water type. We got our first point and we are actually on to a good run. But as I said, this is not the winning attempt. Anyway, he pulls a Spiky Helmet on his Heatran and deals 40 damage on our Tapu Fini. We then pull out a Pokeball, which we use to get, obviously, Tapu Bulu, because it's the only one that we need left. We put it on our bench, and since the next energy is Electric, we are not going to put the energy on him, and instead we are going to fill in Tapu Koko and deal extra damage again with Tapu Fini, because his whole deck is fire, and that's really not a counter. Anyway, we healed 20 and then immediately lost our 20 again because of the Spiky Helmet, but that's not a problem because we can still win this game. As you can see, they are really low and we are 1 point ahead of them. On his turn, he knocks out my Tapu Fini, which means we have to get another Pokemon on the active spot, which, to be honest, I was thinking of getting Tapu Koko, but seeing that the next energy is Psychic, we're actually going to get Tapu Lele, which can actually deal 40 damage on his Heatran, making him obviously die in this round. We used our Spiky Helmet on Tapu Bulu because we don't need to use it on Tapu Lele, to be honest. And then we just used Tapu Lele to kill Heatran and get, you know, one more point. We did, however, get 20 damage from his Spiky Helmet, but that's not really a problem. And now we are 1 point for winning. I really thought this was actually going to be the win, like the first attempt. That would have been really crazy, but there's only one way we can actually lose this challenge, and that is if our opponent concedes. And well, he takes his time and eventually he just concedes. And we lost our attempt, a pretty good attempt. Our next 3 attempts were no luck. I was just playing against meta decks, which meant I was definitely going to lose. But then attempt 5 came in against a 70 level player. This could be the winning game, and look at it, we also flipped tails, which means we are going second, and we got a Tapu Koko to open the game with an electric energy on our energy zone, which is perfect, because that means that the first turn we are actually going to be able to attack, which is perfect, because that's what we want. He plays a dark deck using Paldean, Whopper and Ekans, which I don't know what to say about it, but it is what it is. Anyway, we used our Pokeball and we got a Tapu Fini, and then we also used our Professor's Research to get 2 more cards, which are Tapu Lele and an X-Speed, which is great because we have 3 of our Tapus already in the game. We can put them on our bench. We used our Electric Energy on Tapu Koko, and we also are going to put the Spiky Helmet again on Tapu Koko. Rocky Helmet, I'm sorry, I keep calling it Spiky Helmet. Anyway, we then attack for 20 damage, bringing our opponent to 30 HP and also giving ourselves another Electric Energy on our Tapu Koko, which was perfect. Our opponent opens the game with Professor's Research, granting him 2 more cards, and then immediately puts another Pokemon on his bench, and that is Jigglypuff. Weird, I know. Anyway, he attacks with a Paldean Whopper, bringing my Tapu Koko to 120, but also poisoning it. However, because of our Rocky Helmet, we were able to bring his Paldean Whopper to 10 HP, which means that the next turn we are actually going to knock it out. We use our last Pokeball to get our last Pokemon, that is Tapu Bulu. Here I actually made a mistake. Instead of attaching the grass energy to Tapu Bulu, I actually attached this to Tapu Koko, which was actually a waste because I can just hit with 20 and already get my energy back. But it's fine because we can now retreat without using X-Speed if we need to. However, this happened. Yeah, our opponent conceded again. Another attempt lost, and it was actually a really good one. Attempt number 6 was again a defeat, and then we come back to attempt number 7 against a level 20 Pokemon trainer, which means this could actually be the play and the game. We, however, rolled heads, which means we are going first, and we open with Tapu Bulu this time. I feel like I've always opened with Tapu Koko, but it's nice to switch things up sometimes. Anyway, we end our turn and we wait for him to play Farfetch'd on a fire deck, so that's actually pretty interesting. Anyway, we used our Pokeball to get another Tapu on our bench, and that is, well, like always, Tapu Fini. We put it on our bench, and then we obviously use the Professor's Research to get more cards, 2 to be exact, and those were Giant Cape and Tapu Lele, so we got 2 Tapus on our bench, 1 in the active spot. We are only missing Tapu Koko to win the game. We put Giant Cape on Tapu Bulu, and we just ended our turn because there's nothing else we can actually do. We can't attach any energy and we can't attack. He puts a Charizard on his bench and uses Professor's Research to get 2 more cards, which I assume granted him a Pokeball because he immediately uses it and gets another Pokemon that he's actually going to put on his bench, and that is, well, Moltres, so he's definitely running a Moltres Charizard deck. He also puts a Shaymin, which decreases the retreat cost by 1, and then he attaches 1 energy to Farfetch, dealing 40 damage to my Tapu Bulu, leaving him at 100 HP. We then pull an Erika, which we're actually not going to use because that would be a waste of 10 HP, so we're actually going to wait for the next turn. We then just end our turn because there's nothing else we can do. I know we have a Rocky Helmet, but I don't want to actually use it just yet. He evolves his Charmander into a Charmeleon and uses Professor's Research to get 2 more cards, which I don't know what they were. He just attached some energy to Moltres and then again attacked with Farfetch'd, dealing 40 damage again. We then actually used Erika instead of using Professor's Research just to save our Tapu Bulu just a bit more. And then there's nothing else we can do because we still don't have enough energy, so we just, well, roll to the next turn. Our opponent takes his time thinking what he has to do again, and then eventually he just switches and brings Moltres to the active spot. That just tells me that he actually got a Charizard, which is going to use on his Charmeleon, and I was right, he got a Charizard EX, and he's definitely going to use its ability, Moltres' ability, to get more fire energy on his Charizard. Again, he takes some time thinking what he has to do, and eventually uses a Sabrina, which lets me bring in Tapu Lele onto the active spot because the next energy is actually Psychic, which means we can actually deal pretty good damage using Tapu Lele on our next turn. He puts another energy on his Moltres, of course, and then uses Inferno Dance to get, well, pretty lucky roll. He got 2 heads, which means 2 energy on his Charizard. However, Tapu Lele has a really interesting ability. She's able to deal 20 times the amount of energy attached to the opposing Pokemon, and he can actually attack any Pokemon, not just the one in the active spot. Anyway, we use our Misty and get Tails, of course, but we then use our Tapu Lele on his Moltres to deal 40 damage, leaving his Moltres to 100 HP, which is not much, but it's still a dent of damage on his Moltres. Once again, he takes his time doing something, I don't know, until he uses Potion on his Moltres to bring him back to 120 HP, which means we can't actually kill him that fast anymore. However, he does something really interesting, and that is to attach 1 more energy to Moltres, and instead of attacking me, he actually does Inferno Dance again, which is a really interesting move, but I guess it worked because he got 2 heads again, which means he brought his Charizard to 4 fire energy. However, we still have Tapu Lele on the active spot, and we also got our Tapu Koko finally, which we put on our bench to have the full Tapu team ready to play. We then use our Professor's Research, the last one that we have, to get 2 more cards, one of them being Misty again and an X-Speed. We then attached our electric energy to Tapu Koko and attack using Tapu Lele on his Charizard, dealing 80 damage. And we are really close to actually killing his Charizard, granting us 2 points. He then, well, I don't know what he tries to do because he just uses a Poison Barb on his Charizard, and then he does something really weird, and that is to attach 1 more fire energy to his Charizard, which means that the next turn we can just kill his Charizard using Tapu Lele, because he can deal 100 HP on his 5 fire energy Charizard. However, this time he uses Heat Blast, dealing 70 damage, leaving my Tapu Lele to 20. I get a Giant Cape, which I'm actually going to use on our Tapu Koko. There's no reason to save Tapu Lele more. And then we also got our Psychic Energy, which I'm actually going to use on Tapu Bulu. And well, we use our Misty once again, hopefully getting something better this time. And we actually do, we just hit 1 singular head. I mean, 1 is better than none, so it's still a win. Anyway, we use our Tapu Lele again to kill his Charizard, bringing us to 2 points. Now at this point I was really scared that my opponent was just going to concede again and we are going to lose this attempt once again. However, he doesn't do it, and instead he just plays another Charmander on his bench, attaching 1 energy to it and then just, I guess, attacking with Moltres. Using Heat Blast, kicking my Tapu Lele off the active spot, And now it's time to bring in Tapu Bulu onto the active spot to finish the game, hopefully, if we are able to flip heads, so our Tapu Bulu actually survives. However, we got a Sabrina, which means we can actually just get any Pokemon from this bench onto the active spot, and since my Tapu Bulu deals 100 damage and all of its bench Pokemons have less than 100 damage, that means this will be win as soon as I finish flipping this coin. We actually got heads as well. But we are actually going to knock his Farfetch'd out and win the game on attempt number 7. It was actually such a fun challenge, and I was really glad that I was able to finish it. I was so scared he was going to concede. Eventually he did not, and I was able to pull off the win with 3 points, even 3-1 actually, and only 13 turns. That was such a great game. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. Also check out my main channel and leave a comment of what other challenges I should try. Also, if you want to see more challenges right now, make sure to check out Robo Pokemon's channel. He has more challenges on his channel already posted, and some of them are actually really crazy.